Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games is one of the most beloved games in the series. You'll find it in the top 3 of almost every single Mario and Sonic game's tier list. But most of these games rely around individual level speedruns, or one singular event. However, some speedrunners have tried to complete every event in the game as fast as possible. 2012's All Events record has a weird, beautiful, and long story. So, let's talk about it. This is the history of Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. All Events.
Subscribe now around. I'll have hiccups.
Our story begins on March 9th, 2016, when a player named Gabriel Hartman got a time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 22 seconds, and then the following day, he'd get a 59:40, both without any video, and then exactly a full year went by with no runs, before Gabe came back for one last dance, but this time he was recording. For this category, you had to start with 100-meter sprint, and end with dream fencing. Any order after those two events is optional, and you can fast exit when finish appears on the screen. Gabe used Shadow in the track events because it's Shadow the Hedgehog, he's a badass, but he also used Shadow because his special boost is much longer than the rest of the speed characters, making it easier to fast exit. For the field events, he would purposely lose, since this is more of an any percent category instead of actually having to win the games. In uneven bars, Gabe tried to beat the course as fast as possible. He just immediately let go of the bars until the game was over. In trampoline, he would try to get 2 perfect jumps, but messed up and got bad timing, causing him to jump again, losing a couple of seconds. He also got a perfect and great jumps when he was doing tricks, which also lost time. In Rhythmic Ribbon, he would pick the first option as his song. This sport was an auto-scroller, so not much to talk about here. In Aquatics, he would just do the course as fast as possible, and then in Synchronized Swimming, he would yet again pick the first option of song. In Canoeing, he did the course as fast as possible, getting perfect timing on nearly every stroke. In Table Tennis, Volleyball, and Badminton, Gabe would purposely lose by letting the CPU score every point. In Equestrian, he did the course as fast as possible, nearly falling off at some difficult turns, losing some time. In Football, Gabe would try to run out the clock, and try to only score 1 goal. Gabe would get a foul, which would lose him a couple seconds, but after the CPU scored a goal, he just ran the clock out, which he would do by giving the ball back to his goalie and having them clear it back out to midfield, which reset the CPU, and force them to stop trying to get the ball. In Shooting, he tries to hit all the targets as fast as possible in the first round, but then in all the other rounds, he just does spam shots. He tries to keep his cursor in the middle to start the round faster. In Fencing, Gabe tries to beat the CPU as fast as possible. He gets blocked and hit a few times, but still wins. Gabe purposely loses in Cycling to end the Olympic event section. In the Dream events, he starts with Dream Long Jump and loses as fast as possible by ground pounding a small cloud and then ground pounding into the water below to end the game. In Dream Rafting, he just tries to complete the course as fast as possible, but hits many walls and loses a boatload of time. His boss fight was also very bad. He got knocked off the raft and then all of his teammates fell off after being 1 hit away to beat the boss. If everyone fell off at the start of the fight, it would have been faster, but since they were already 1 hit away from winning, it lost some time. Dream Discus, Uneven Bars, and Trampoline were all auto-scrollers. In Dream Sprint, Gabe took the slower yet more consistent route, which lost around 20 seconds, but it also didn't kill his run. In Equestrian, Gabe beat the course as fast as possible, hitting boost pads and whipping the horse to speed up whenever possible. Dream Hurdles was another auto-scroller, and in Dream Spacewalk you have to defeat Petey Piranha. Gabe got into the rings and mashed 2 to increase damage on Petey. However, he did not deflect the incoming rocks Petey spits at you, which lost almost 30 seconds. Finally, in Dream Fencing, Gabe lost as fast as possible, and when he got blasted away and finish appeared on screen, the run was over. 49-45. A great run from Gabriel, before he disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. The record stood for a couple of months, until a runner named Duraludon came along. Dura had started their speedrun career playing Mario 3D World, but the all events category had caught his eye. Dura actually loses some time at the start by not doing the charge boost at the start, but his menuing makes up for it. When Gabriel did his recorded run, he hadn't played the game in a full year, so he didn't know what to menu for. But Dura knew exactly what he was doing, so he saves time on menuing. Dura was also using Sonic, which was a bit more risky since he had a shorter boost, and therefore it'd be harder to fast exit out of the sport. In trampoline, just like Gabriel, Dura missed a jump, and lost a couple of seconds. In swimming, Dura used Yoshi for his boost, and then he did the same things Gabriel did in synchronized swimming, canoeing, and table tennis. But then he goes into cycling and actually tries to win, losing him more than a full minute. In fencing, Dura gets knocked down in 5 hits instead of 10 hits, by editing the amount of hits needed to win before his run. Dura has a much better shooting with better spamming as well as keeping his remote in the middle of the screen for most of the event. Dura has a much better dream sprint. He used the shortcut and got inside this little pocket in the pinball section, which skips half the track, saving a bunch of time compared to Gabriel. In dream rafting, Dura hits just as many walls as Gabe does, but his boss fight is much better, saving 20 seconds. In dream spacewalk, Dura uses the rock strategy to cause more damage and save a bunch of time, and in dream fencing, he died and ended the run with a 48-15. This could have been a potential low 47 if Dura had lost in cycling, but the 47 was on the horizon. But it would go to a new player named Sonic Sam. Using Sonic as his character, I wonder why, Sam would get good start boosts and great gameplay in all the track events, as well as finally going foul on discus, as well as getting 2 jumps at the start of trampoline instead of 3. Sam would use Daisy instead of Yoshi in swimming, but it would only lose a second or 2. He had a rough equestrian, and conceded 3 goals in soccer on accident, instead of the 1 goal you need, but it didn't really matter all that much. He had an amazing shooting and fencing, but then just like Duraludon, Sam would actually do the cycling race instead of just getting lapped. Despite this minute time loss, menuing is great, and the dream events were near perfect. The only time loss was Sam hitting the walls a couple times in rafting, but still, it was much less than Dura and Gabriel. Sam also saved a couple seconds on Dura in Dream Equestrian thanks to better maneuvering, and saved small amounts of time in Dream Spacewalk and Dream Fencing, and would end the run with a 47-51. However, this record would not last long. Dura would come back 3 months later, and would be on good pace for a new record.
Get set.
He would stay on that same pace before he did something I have to talk about. In swimming, he used Dr. Eggman, who was much faster thanks to his height, his speed, and his special boost, all combining to create the perfect swimmer. Dura would then use the song Tritch Tratch Polka in synchronized swimming. If he had done Hungarian dance, it would be even more faster, but he still saved some time compared to using Spring Song. A rough canoeing would lose some time, but Dura finally purposely lost in cycling, saving a full minute. But then Dura would do something unthinkable. He connected his second remote and did this. By using a second controller, Duraludon would complete fencing in a crazy amount of time. By running into and hitting himself, he would save so much time. However, this would unfortunately be the only sport he used this strategy in, but it made a big stepping stone for one of the biggest time saves in the game. After this, Dura would fall off the edge doing the shortcut and Dream Sprint, but he would only lose 10 seconds from that. But Dura would still finish with a 47-13, and it was only record because of cycling. But somehow, he would stand for 6 months, before a player named CMDR would go for the record, and funnily enough, he would do it during a marathon. CMDR had been climbing the ranks. He had gotten 4 PBs over 8 months, and on September 20th, he would get a 47-27. But the next day, he would be playing the game during the speedrunning event Pixels for Peace, and CMDR, Jasper the Fish with background commentary, and the innocent citizens of Twitch chat would see history. Although CMDR would lose time by doing a 10-point game in fencing, he used new strats in soccer and cycling, involving 2 players that made it much easier. By using 2 players, you don't have to stress about the CPU fouling you or scoring a goal. And in cycling, you can overtake yourself without having to worry about the CPU moving too slowly. In rafting, CMDR would use 4 players, and even though he lost some time by hitting the walls a bunch, he would jump off the raft to end the boss fight early, which saved a bunch of time. In Dream Sprint, CMDR would just fall off like Duraludon did, which, to quote CMDR, would only lose around 4 to 5 seconds, but it would end up being around 20. The rest of his run was pretty good, he made no mistakes, and then he would end up getting a 78 in fencing, which was unbelievably fast for the time, ending his run with a time of 47:03, a new world record by 10 seconds. Again, this run could be improved by a bunch. The run was during a marathon, for God's sake. Over the next couple of days, runners talk in the Mario and Sonic Discord to try to figure out which songs would be fastest for all events in Rhythmic Ribbon and Synchronized Swimming. Their theory is that in past games, the first songs are the shortest. Surely in this game it's the same. These guys will later figure out that they're wrong, but for right now, the runners do use the worst song combination possible. Ladies and gentlemen, Duraludon has taken the all events record. Dura would use Hungarian dance for Synchronized Swimming, which saved over 10 seconds over what people were doing at the time. But Dura lost over 30 seconds in Dream Sprint. He missed the start boost and got pushed by the CPUs, missed the shortcut, and then missed the whole shortcut, missed the stairs, and nearly lost to the CPUs. Luckily, he got a big enough lead that he would end up getting a world record with a time of 46:44. This run could have been a sub 46, but his dream events lost nearly a full minute off CMDR. Over the next couple of days, CMDR and Duraludon would keep trying to narrow down their times, but this competition sparked an interest in the category for a new runner, Triple T. He would get a 48:27 on the 29th, a 47:26 on the same day, and then the next day, he would take the record by 3 seconds. Triple T would use a new exiting strategy on the field events. He exited when the fade of the position screen started instead of actually waiting until his position was announced, saving a second each time. He missed the boost in Dream Sprint and missed the shortcut, losing over 20 seconds, but then in Dream Fencing he would get an 81, saving 3 seconds off the record and ending the run with a 46:41. Wait, how much did I say this was real record by? 3 seconds? What do you mean it doesn't matter? Dura got record by 20 seconds?
Mosh pits and beer chests, stage diver, skydiver, spray the crowd with cold water. Now it's mosh pits and wet tits. I think I need a cold shower, cool waters. African girl speaks an English accent, likes to fuck boys in bands, likes to watch westerns and ride me without the hands. Show me her passport, she's on her own tour, but you're beautiful to me. Ooh, wave 'em high, girl.
He was nearly a minute ahead of world record, but it dwindled down to 20 seconds thanks to Dream Fencing. But this run proved that a possible 44-minute time could be possible in the near future. Well, much to the dismay of the competitors, the rules were not so good. They wanted to start in Dream Fencing first, but the moderator of the game said no, and there was a discussion of just making their own rules, but that was probably a joke. No one would actually make their own rules, right? Over the next couple of months, into 2019, there wouldn't be much discussion. Everyone just sort of all collectively did their own thing. There were marathons from Commander and Duraludon, but no one actually attempted to break the world record. Until May.
If that guy stays, I think we're good. No, he died. Come on, one more hit, please. Oh, TNT. I think that's world record. It's 46:13. I think that's world record.
This run was amazing. Everything went according to plan. Commander even did Seiko's post, which saved 2 seconds for free. Commander was still using the 4-player strategy in Dream Rafting, which unfortunately only works if you can control the raft. He hits a bunch of walls, but thanks to the Kraken skip, it still saved a couple of seconds. And Commander would get Pinball skip in Dream Sprint, which the past couple records failed to do. But then in Dream Fencing, he got a 60, which lost 20 seconds from what was possible. This run was really, really good. It might take a while for someone to beat it. Ladies and gentlemen, Duraludon has taken the all events record. After one day, Dura would improve every segment by small decimals compared to CMDR. He was 13 seconds ahead of him into Dream Sprint. He missed Pinball Skip, but at that point, it didn't matter. He was destined to get the record. 45-47. The first sub 46. This run was untouchable, and I mean that literally. This run stood and stood and stood. And 2012 went into a dark age, with no new contenders for over a year. In the meantime, a new player named Suus and the old legend Duraludon were competing to lower down the All-Olympic Events world record. Dura was going for all events, while Suus was just going for All-Olympic events. Because to quote Suus, "Because of Dream Uneven Bars, I suck at it so bad." Little does he know that Dream Uneven Bars is an auto-scroller. What a stupid, dumb idiot. Anyways, Suus is struggling to keep up. He doesn't have the skill Dura has, and he has a 25-minute time, and he's really fatigued because he's been playing all day. He enters uneven bars and jumps onto the bar, but he's tired from athletics, and accidentally lets go of the B button. He hangs his head in shame, and is about to quit back to the menu, when the most stupid thing ever happens.
We in the streets, player, get your mail.
He finds a new strategy. Uneven bars skip, by complete accident. This would also start the trend of using two players in table tennis, volleyball, and badminton to save time, since the old strategies involve serving and then having the CPU hitting the ball back, while if you use two players, you can just win without having to worry about a CPU mishap. It also saves some time in volleyball since you would originally have to menu to change your CPU teammate into a manual player, but since the second controller can just miss every time, you don't have to worry about that. Sup will go on to take the All-Olympic record a couple of days later and cause a small race with Duraludon, before going on to have a stranglehold on the All-Olympic events category for multiple years. But now that he's a dominant runner, he's a contender for the record. But something else is lurking. Maybe someone else has other plans. Thanks to the fastest dream fencing ever, a new player named Tobias got the world record by 2 seconds. Tobias had submitted some runs to Cyberscore, but hadn't actually ran the game until late 2020, when he got a 48-minute time. But he said he would PB again, and oh boy did he. He would get a 46-34, 46-14, and this time a 45-45, all in the same day. This meant that there were now 3 contenders for the world record, and no one knew it yet, but this sparked one of the tightest competitions in Mario and Sonic history. Suus would get his first all-events record 9 days after Tobias' record. However, this run could definitely be improved on. He lost over 20 seconds in dream fencing compared to world record, and overall his dream events are just really bad. But in rafting, Sup did something unheard of. He actually got the Gooper blooper skip, in a run without multiple controllers, saving around 5 seconds. Nevertheless, this run was still meh, and it didn't even have a sub-24 Olympic events, even though Sup was pumping them out left and right, with no one else doing so. Dura would get an unrecorded 45-23 on the 18th, but then on the same day, Dura would get the first sub-24 Olympic events in a run, and then lost 20 seconds in dream rafting. He would climb back and get a good dream spacewalk before getting an 83 dream fencing, saving 23 seconds on the previous record by Suus, and getting a 45-06. If someone did everything correctly, they could potentially have a sub-45 minute time. But who would be the first runner to get it? This run was absolutely nuts. For some reason, Tomero would copy Duraludon and use Daisy in swimming, which lost a second, but he still ended up getting a 23:56 Olympic events, being barely behind Dura by a second headed into the Dream events. But he would gold Dream rafting and be ahead of his 45:21 PB by 12 seconds. Headed into Dream fencing, he only needed a 62 or better to get up sub 45, which was pretty much free. Tomero barely got a sub 45 by a single second. But this run was amazing. It wasn't perfect, but it would stand for a very long time.
Yep, 41. New world record.
Suus has just done the impossible. He got the All-Olympics record with a 23:41, and then went into Dream events, stayed calm, and only lost a little bit of time thanks to Dream fencing, and finished the run to get a 44:42. How is this possible? Suus has done something completely impossible. He has broken all events. This run is too good. This single-handedly caused every other runner to leave. All of our heroes are gone. There is no in the meantime stories. Everybody left. There's no one to save us from Suus. Suus's 44:42 would stand for 2 whole years. There was barely any activity on the boards during this time besides a German runner named Wazoo, who would get a pretty alright time, but nothing special. But out of nowhere, a new runner came and made history. In December of 2023, a player named Nameless Spectre would try for the all-events record. He would get a 23:53 Olympic events, making him over 10 seconds behind the record, entirely because of menuing errors, but entering Dream events, he would show skill in the ILs no runner had displayed up to that point. A 48 Dream sprint compared to a Suus 52, a 150 Dream equestrian, near perfect steering in Dream rafting, only hitting a wall twice, losing a little bit of time, and a 117 Dream spacewalk compared to a Suus 127, but then he had gotten a 66 Dream fencing to finish it off. A 44:37, taking the untouchable Suus record by 5 seconds. This run was absolutely insane, and with better Dream ILs, runners could now possibly flirt with a 43-minute time if everything went right. This run would only last for about 4 months, because during March of 2024, Suus would announce that he was coming back to all events, and he would come back with a bang. Suus would get a monumental 44:02, with an insane 23:06 adjusted Olympic events, thanks to him doing Dream Sprint second, which was a 55, which was really bad. I don't know why he continued this run, but he had a bunch of time saved later in the run, so I guess that makes sense. He was inches away from a sub 44, and before he would go for the milestone, he would get some help. As much as we love the old moderators, the rules were not so good. You have to end with Dream fencing, the riskiest sport in the run, since you can either get anywhere between a 90 or a 60. So, the moderator Astro decided that you can now exit on foul instead of waiting for the placement screen on field events, more commonly referred to as the Phil Koch skips, and more importantly, you can now start and end with any event you want. So Suus developed a new strategy. He would reset in Dream fencing until he got a skill character, this can be Peach, Tails, Eggman, Waluigi, or Silver, and then he would knock them off the edge. This gives them a special attack, launching a projectile that targets a player, and if they target another CPU, anyone who stands in the path of the projectile will be infinitely hit, until it hits on the intended target. So, with this in mind, on the 18th of March, Supius would reset for skill characters, and he would do this. Of course, these runs wouldn't last, and he'd get a 43-23 a couple hours later. However, the video looks like this. There was a thunderstorm in his area and it caused his Twitch to bug out, resulting in this April Fool's masterpiece. So, he settled for a 43-24, and then the next day, the stupidest thing ever happened. He got a sub-20 Dream Events, a 1953, with a 102 Dream Fencing, 120 Dream Spacewalk, 48 Dream Sprint, 2 Bonk Rafting, but then his remote started running out of batteries during Dream Equestrian, giving him an extra text box. He'd get a 151 Equestrian and then have 2 more text boxes throughout the run. However, he'd finish the run unscathed with a 1953. He tried to carry it, but in Rhythmic Ribbon, he didn't scroll down to Seiko's post and had to reset. But this now meant that a sub-43 run might be possible. It would just require a sub-1950 Dream Events, and then a sub-23 Olympic Events. Sounds easy, right? Well, to Soup, it seemed possible. A 43-12, ending his journey with a nearly full minute-and-a-half gap between first and second place, cementing Supius as a man among boys. But, funnily enough, everything involving Supius in this video is completely irrelevant. There was an investigation, and some screenshots were leaked, and it turned out that Supius wasn't really that good of a person, giving the moderators a good reason to ban him, and all of his runs would be deleted, removing any trace of Soup having been there. They could have kept the runs because you can make the argument that the actions of a person outside of speedrunning do not make a run invalid, or at the very least they could have made the runs anonymous. But no, they decided to delete most of their game's history and the strats that came with it. No one on Earth could take down Supius, so they moved the Earth itself. We have wandered into the unknown. After the Supius ban, no one really knew what to do. The game was completely silent. The game was dead. Obviously, Supius wasn't going to come back. It would take until the new year for someone to try to take the record. The run no longer exists today thanks to Twitch being an organization void of life, but a runner named JH2000 would beat nameless Spectre's 43:37 by 3 seconds, thanks to new fast exit rules that JH and Hayden, a new moderator, made. Over the next couple of days, there would be more experimenting with rules, and on January 11th, the list of new fast exits was finalized. With these new rules, you can now exit faster in badminton, volleyball, and table tennis once the final point was scored. In Dream Discus and in Dream Trampoline, you could exit when you landed. In Dream Rafting, you could exit when failed or success appears after the Gooper Blooper boss. In Dream Spacewalk, you could exit when the final hit lands, and in Dream Fencing, you could exit when you get hit for the last time. All of these new exit rules accumulated to almost a full minute of time save. A couple days later, JH would beat their own time by 37 seconds, with a time of 43:57, which is crazy, because even with a free minute of time save, this run still didn't beat Supius. I wonder how he's doing. Does he even know that this stuff is happening? He did. Even though this run wasn't on the leaderboard, Supius was back, better than ever, getting a 43:01. This run didn't even use all the fast exits I talked about since they were in the process of being made while he did this run. He even got the sub 43 he wanted a couple days later, but now that the exit rules were updated, sub 43 was not the main goal. It was time for Supius to wander into the great unknown. Soup got some of the best luck in dream rafting ever, leading to a 1913 dream events, but he lost over 10 seconds in the Olympics segment, getting a 22:45 when his PB was a 22:34. He was not happy with this run, meaning he was going to start the grind for sub 42. I vividly remember this grind. It was a living hell. I would wake up, go to school, watch Mario and Sonic World Records, go to work, swim, and then come home and play this game for 3 hours. I remember every single time I would reset to Dream Fencing because it just wasn't good enough. But eventually, I did get one that was good enough, and I never turned back. Fucking finally, dude. God damn. 41:56. Oh my god, dude. And so the record today is a 41:56. I personally don't think this record will ever be beaten, but I'm a biased idiot, and I would love to see somebody prove me wrong. As always, thank you to everyone who helped with the production of this video. Runners, strat finders, even the mods who verify runs. Their work will not be forgotten. But last of all, thanks to you for getting to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Who the fuck put this here? Fucking idiot.